If you're a 3D artist and struggling, please watch this. Are you pouring hours into 3D art, but still seeing no results? No clients, no growth, no recognition whatsoever? You're not alone. Almost every 3D artist hits this wall. Here's the difference. Some push through and break out, others stay stuck. Let's make sure you're in the first group. What we will talk about in this video here. What you'll get from this video, clear direction on why you're stuck, what to do next, and practical steps and mindset shifts. By the end of this video, you'll know how to turn your struggle into progress and confidence. About me, my name is Dwayne Elahie. I'm a CG Supervisor. I've been in the industry for 20 years plus. I've been teaching and mentoring for 15 years plus, taught hundreds of students, some of them with salaries greater than 70K now. I've been at these studios, EA, ILM, Pixar, Disney, and you can check out my IMDb. I've been working on projects such as Netflix The Witcher, James Cameron's Avatar, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs franchise, and I've been the CG character rigging supervisor on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. And the tools I've built is being used for K-pop Demon Hunters, which is the #1 show on Netflix right now, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and these other things, The Witcher, Marvel's projects, Hunger Games, and Avatar. So let's get into this. So the top 5 breakthroughs if you're a struggling 3D artist. 1, you're not failing. You're just building foundations. So every great 3D artist, they struggle at the start. That's just how you begin. You're not born with these skills. Nobody has innate skills. There's a learning curve, right? This phase is normal and necessary. So don't get discouraged. Struggling equals learning. There's a learning curve to this stuff, right? If it feels hard, that's proof that you are leveling up. You got to reframe your mindset there. You got to reframe your struggle. Struggling is just actually skill compounding in the background. And in fact, you probably won't even notice that you're building up just little by little. Every 1,000-mile journey starts with a single step. And as long as you take one step forward, you're eventually going to get there. So, number 2 breakthrough. Stop comparing yourself, right? Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, right? Social media makes it look like everyone's ahead, but you're not seeing the years behind their work. You're just seeing the small few second clips of the perfect whatever they're displaying, right? Comparison kills momentum. If you compare yourself, you're going to kill your momentum. Focus on daily progress, not the skill gap or the gap between you at your chapter 1 and someone else's chapter 20. Use others as inspiration, not competition. And breakthrough number 3, progress comes from consistency. Progress comes from consistency, not perfection. Don't wait for the perfect project. Ship messy work, iterate, improve. Just go out there and start doing it. Of course, it's not going to be perfect the first time. You're going to do it, and what you do after the end is do an assessment or a post-mortem. Figure out what went right, what went wrong. Then the next iteration, improve on it. And little by little, you'll be better and you get slight progress. And you want to aim for progress each time and not perfection. And you'll hear artists say this all the time, that they're not perfect, but they'll try to keep progressing. And you'll see their work over every iteration of their work or over the years that there's a slight progress over the time. You want to do the same thing. You have to stay consistent, right? And by doing that, you'll build momentum, and momentum beats perfection. Small wins stack into breakthroughs. Each win just stack up on each other. You have to keep going at it though. And remember, commit to a schedule. Doing something 30 minutes a day will always beat doing something 5 hours once a month. So breakthrough number 4, skill plus visibility equals opportunities. Struggling isn't about skill. It's about being seen. Share your work in progress, your WIP, your work in progress, WIP. Even imperfect posts attract attention. I think I mentioned this in an older video where as you progress, as you put something out there, to you it might not be perfect, but it could be a client if you're doing freelance that says, oh, that's exactly what we need. So always put your things out there. Opportunity comes when people know you exist. You could be the greatest in the world, but if nobody knows, you can't really capitalize on that opportunity. And also, Build a feedback loop. Don't work in a vacuum. Get critique, join communities, share early. Feedback accelerates 10 times faster than if you just did it in isolation. If you do it by yourself, you're not sure what's working, what's resonating with people. You have to get it out there, get feedback, and see what works and what doesn't. You also get fresh eyes onto it, other people's experience, some ahead of you, or some even might be the same level or not even in your field, but could give you a different perspective on how you could see your own work. Your struggles often get solved instantly when someone shows you the missing piece. So you don't want to be spinning your wheel for hours and hours and just talking to someone could just solve that problem. Quick heads up for all you 3D artists watching this. If you've been grinding away at tutorials and YouTube videos but still feel stuck, I've got something special for you. I'm hosting a 3D character rapid bootcamp workshop where I'll walk you step by step through the exact skills studios actually hire for. It's not theory. This is the stuff that got me hired and working in the industry. If you want to finally build a portfolio that gets callbacks and interviews, hit the link below and grab your spot. Seats are limited, so if you're serious about going pro, this is your chance. To recap, struggle is normal. It's the foundation, not the end. Don't compare yourself, focus on your lane. Consistency matters more than perfection, and share your work to create opportunities. Get feedback so you're not spinning your wheels, not going in circles, just speaking with people to just get the answer for you. So the next step, what I want you to do, pick one area of struggle, whether it be modeling, texturing, your portfolio, networking. Then commit to one small daily habit in that area. Post or share one piece of work this week, no matter how unfinished it feels. And here's a bonus tip. Keep a struggle journal. Write down every challenge you face and how you solved it. This becomes your personal growth blueprint, proof that you're improving. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was helping 2 students, and when they started out, obviously when I'm showing things, I'm showing them the pipeline, how to model. This is the first time they're doing it. Then the texture. Then it was like unwrapping to do the textures, how to use Photoshop at the time. And then it was like modeling. Well, you already did modeling, rigging, and skinning, and then doing animation, and then rendering it out. And they were overwhelmed with all the pieces, and they were saying like, how we could have possibly learned. And I told them, when I started out, it was very, very difficult as well. But just learning one thing and getting better little by little, they'll eventually get there. And if they keep at it, they'll look back at this time and they'll laugh because they'll be pretty much proficient in each one of these skills that they don't even think about it. About some time later, they were at it, and about a year later, not even a year later, it was probably 6 months later, I went back and I see them their work, and each one of them, they're able to do every section really, really easily. And I said, see, I told you. And they smiled at me and said, yeah, you're right. In fact, I have a student ask me in the community 2 days ago, same thing, where they're going through our lessons. And there's one part where they didn't really understand, and explained, oh, that's because you didn't put it into a certain mode, and had to go back and fix it. And they were like, wow, how do you know all these things? And I told them, well, I had 20 years experience doing this every day, so I saw it and I knew what the problem was right away. And they said, wow, this is overwhelming. Same thing. Like I mentioned at the beginning here, anything at the beginning seems like you're struggling, right? You're not failing, you're just building foundations, right? So every great artist struggles at the beginning. This phase is normal, but you keep at it and you stay consistent, which we mentioned here, consistency matters more than perfection. All those things will become automatic, will become second nature to them. And in fact, you'll learn more from your struggles because you'll know what not to do, because you know how much pain you go through, and that you consciously fought through it to make it happen. So embrace it. A lot of times, if you get something right away, you're probably not going to remember it, right? But staying consistent and struggling will make you a much better artist, and it'll make you better as long as you keep at it. So that's pretty much that. And So here's the thing: is the biggest mistakes I would like to say for you to avoid. Don't disappear when it gets tough. Quitting is the only way to guarantee failure, which is what I was mentioning. Is the harder you work at something, that's the time when you actually have to double down instead of quitting. Because the only way you quit is actually if you give up. If you fall down, you get back up. If you fall down, you get back up. You just keep going at it. The only two outcomes is either you succeed or you quit, which you stop, right? That's the only way you'll actually fail. Avoid endless tutorials without applying them. So you don't want to get into the rabbit hole of, let's say you go onto YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot of great resources out there. But again, YouTube, almost everything I guess you could say is out there, but it's not guided. So you could look at one thing and then you see that they, especially on YouTube, they say, go click on this video to learn about that. And you're like, okay, let me click on that. The next one tells you something else and you go down a rabbit hole and you could spend all your time just watching videos, watching tutorials, thinking, oh, you're actually improving, or actually it's a good use of your time. But remember, if you just go down endless tutorials without applying them, you're not going to learn anything. So make sure you practice. Going through 1 or 2 tutorials and put them in practice will be better than going through 10 and just passive learning, not doing anything with it. And the other thing I want to mention as well, don't chase tools or plugins thinking they'll solve the struggle. It's your fundamentals that matter. I would suggest learn how to do things fundamentally, especially if you're in a software. Maybe you're learning something in Blender, but then you have to work in Maya when you get in the industry because that's the industry standard. And Blender might have a really quick plugin to do something. You might complain about it if you go in to a studio and they don't have that tool, or vice versa. A lot of studios have their own built-in plugins specifically for their production, and you could rely on it. Actually, this is very true. I mentioned I work at these studios here, and I could say for a fact I worked on the facial systems that's been used on on all these projects. Actually, that's what I was hired to do, to build other facial systems. The thing is, when you work at these studios and every one of them have their own tools. Let's say their facial systems at Disney, they have a different one than they do at I actually built the one at EA as well, or they did have the different one than one's at Sony ImageWorks or Micros or something like that, right? Or Avatar, for example. Now the thing is, what I've seen happen is that artists will put on their resume that I'm a facial rigger, but they use the tools for that studio, that plugin. So when they go to another one, or sometimes they work on, let's say, a freelance project or another studio that don't have these tools, that they have to do it from scratch, they don't know the fundamentals. They just knew how to set it up or what buttons to press with the plugin. And that actually made them lose their job. Some people I know lost their job because on their resume or on their portfolio, they said they did this, not saying that they actually use a plugin or a tool set to make it happen, and they didn't know the fundamentals. So when they went to a situation where they didn't have those tools to assist them, they couldn't do the work. So you don't want to be in that situation. Yes, I'm not saying don't use plugins. They're great and actually necessary in a lot of actual productions, but you have to understand what the fundamentals are. So when you are using the plugins, they assist you in making faster. Similar to a video we mentioned earlier about AI, where you are the architect, you are the person who's basically the architect, the one orchestrating the strategist of learning how things go. But to put in the strategy into place, you have to know the fundamentals. So if you don't have those assistants, the tools or AI plugins or AI tools, you can still get the job done because you know the fundamentals.